Pigs in a blanket are one of the very best game day foods. Today I tried 4 different versions to see which one I'd like best. Which one will you like? So classic pigs in a blanket just start with crescent rolls and some mini hot dogs. My versions also include some mini pickles as well as everything but the bagel seasoning. So we start by opening up that tube of crescent roll dough and unrolling it. Now for this first part of the experiment, I decided to just use half of this package of dough. And what you need to do is separate the pieces into the triangles. These are the triangles that you usually roll up to make those nice big fluffy crescent rolls. But instead, we're going to take each of these triangles and cut them into thirds. So line that up. I like to use a pizza cutter for this and just cut from the short end to the point and make 3 very long and thin triangles. Then you just take one of those mini hot dogs and start at that short end and roll it right up. That just kind of forms that classic look of that pointed end kind of overlapping at the on the outside of your little appetizer. These are just such perfect little sizes, and they make great finger food. Like I say, it's great for game day. It's great, especially when you want to have a variety of appetizers, and this is just one thing that's an easy thing to put together to add to your selections. So I'm putting that on a parchment-lined baking sheet so I can go on to version 2. And for version 2, I'm going to add a pickle. Now I can tell you this was one of the trickiest parts to this, was trying to find these teeny tiny little pickles in a dill pickle version. I kept finding, in fact I bought a jar of what were labeled as gherkins, little pickles, but they are sweet. And I really wanted a dill pickle flavor. So I finally found these in a completely different grocery store in these little snack packs. I think they're meant to be for people who like to snack on little pickles for lunch or something. But I will happily use them to make my, my little appetizers here. So you do the same thing. You are wrapping both a mini hot dog as well as a mini pickle. And I can tell you, if you can't find these teeny pickles, I'm sure it would work to just use a regular baby pickle and cut it into smaller pieces. But roll it up just like this. These are ready to go. I'm going to add these then to my baking sheet. And when I have all my versions done, I'm going to bake them all at the same time. So now, this is starting to look familiar, right? Version number 3, cut your pastry into thirds. I'm going to roll just a mini hot dog into these. Don't panic, I know I have those more pickles over there in the top right corner, but for this version, I'm not going to use a pickle. I'm going to go back to the start out, I should say, where it looks like the classic style. However, what I'm going to do differently here is I'm going to put these on a small plate, and then I am going to add some seasoning, everything but the bagel seasoning. This is inspired by Chicago style pigs in a blanket. What they like to do is it's either a pickle or a pepper or something like that with it, and they usually use poppy seeds. They also, most versions I've seen, use brushed egg on the pastry, and then you sprinkle the seasoning on. I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible here, but feel free to use a little brushed egg if you like that look. It certainly does spruce it up quite a bit. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it simple. And so now we go on to version number 4. Version number 4, yes, I'm going to use the mini hot dogs as well as the pickles. I'm going to roll these all up. I'm going to put them right on my plate where I just previously did the seasoning. And that is because what we're going to do for this version is to add both the pickle and the seasoning. So back on the plate it goes. Sprinkle some everything but the bagel seasoning on here. And then these are also ready to add to our baking sheet to be baked. You can see I'm rolling these around so that a little bit of that seasoning gets all the way around on that pastry. And then onto the sheet it goes. Now, as I said before, I am going to just stick with these 12 pigs in a blanket. I'm not going to do the entire tube of crescent roll dough. So I just kind of wrap that up and save it, because I'm going to decide based upon these 4 different varieties which version I want to use for the rest of the dough. I'm going to bake these for 12 to 15 minutes at 375 degrees, and they come out of the oven looking all lovely. The pastry, of course, is golden brown. The hot dogs and the pickles are warmed through, and these are ready to try. So I, in a little bowl, put both ketchup and mustard for my dipping sauces, because these are hot dogs after all. Starting with the classic version. And of course, this is so good. Seriously, this is the appetizer everyone loves. You can't go wrong with pigs in a blanket. So if nothing else, just make the absolutely classic version, and your guests will love you for giving this as a choice. But now we're going to try version number 2. Version number 2, of course, includes that pickle in it. And I can tell you right now, anyone who is a dill pickle lover will absolutely love this version. There's just something about that wonderful tang of the dill pickle combined with a hot dog. That pastry just kind of rounds it all out. It is so good. I highly recommend the addition of a dill pickle, dill taste in with your pigs in a blanket. Of course, I can't stop there, so I'm going to go with version number 3, with it's the everything but the bagel seasoning. Using that same dipping, and give that a try. Now what this does, everything but the bagel seasoning, for me, there are 2 very strong tastes. One is salt. It has very large grains of salt, which always perks everything up. And there's also garlic. It's a very nice addition to the pigs in a blanket. And so I'm super excited to try this version with both the everything but the bagel seasoning as well as the pickle. And when you add that in there, it's of course super yummy. Although I will say that for me, it didn't make as much of a difference versus just adding the pickle. Very good. I certainly recommend it. And I like the way it kind of adds to the presentation. But seriously, I give this all a round of applause. I love every version. Add a pickle at minimum to every one of your pigs in a blanket. Maybe make some the classic version for guests who only want it that way, but either way, I really hope you give at least 1 or 2 of these varieties a try, because if you do, I know you'll love it. Enjoy.